Today's case really chills me because as a parent, I genuinely believe that my children are not capable of harming a hair on the head of me or anybody that I love, and the idea that you can grow someone, bring someone up, provide them with everything they need only to be betrayed in the most fatal ways is deeply disconcerting. If you're new here or just enjoying the content, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. By subscribing, you'll stay up to date with all of our latest videos. Now, let's jump right into today's story. On the evening of November 2nd, 2018, 15-year-old Gregory Ramos made a chilling 911 call that started as a simple report of a missing person. With a trembling voice, Gregory told the dispatcher that his mother, 46-year-old Gail Cleavenger, had disappeared. He claimed that he came home to find the house in disarray, his mother gone, and no sign of forced entry. His words were filled with panic, and his story seemed to suggest that he was a frightened child, a son worried about his missing mother.
911, where's your emergency?
I just got home, and my house is completely trashed. It looks like someone broke in the side door.
Okay. How long have you been gone?
I've been gone all school day. I got home.
Are you there by yourself?
Yeah.
How old are you?
I'm 15.
Okay.
And my mom's car is here and it's on, and she's not home, and she's supposed to go to work today, and I can't find her.
Your mom is okay. Your mom's car is there. Is there any other way she ever gets to work? Does she ever get a ride from anyone else?
It's on. The car is on. It's turned on.
And you're sure she is not there?
I searched the entire place. I've been here for like 8 minutes. I can't find her.
Okay, I want you to stay on the phone with me. We are not going to disconnect until I have an officer that is with you, okay?
Okay.
Okay, did you see anyone leave the house?
No.
Okay. Stay on the phone with me. I'm making a couple of notes. Are you safe where you're at?
Yeah, that doesn't sound like there's anyone here. I checked the entire house because I was looking for her, but she's not here.
But as investigators listened to Gregory's words, something didn't add up. His story was inconsistent, and the details didn't align with the evidence found at the scene. What began as a typical missing person investigation quickly evolved into a much darker and more complex case, one that would leave the small community of DeBerry grappling with a tragic loss and force the nation to confront the difficult realities surrounding juvenile crime. Gregory Ramos was like many teenagers in America, confused, angry, and struggling to find his way. He lived with his mother, Gail Cleavenger, in DeBerry, Florida, a quiet, suburban town in Volusia County. At first glance, Gregory appeared to be an ordinary high school student. He had friends, hobbies, and a life filled with the usual teenage milestones, school, extracurricular activities, and hanging out with his peers. He even had an interest in law enforcement, joining the Orange City Police Explorers program, a group designed to introduce young people to the field of law enforcement. However, beneath the seemingly normal exterior, Gregory was facing his own set of challenges. His academic performance was slipping. He had recently failed several tests, and his grades were becoming a source of tension between him and his mother. Gail Cleavenger, a hard-working and caring mother, was understandably concerned about her son's future. She tried to encourage him to do better in school, to focus on his studies, but Gregory seemed uninterested. It wasn't just his academic struggles that weighed on Gregory. Like many teenagers, he found himself dealing with the pressures of adolescence, identity, peer expectations, and the emotional turmoil of growing up. He was a child caught between the demands of his mother's expectations and his own inner struggles. And as much as Gail tried to be supportive, Gregory's growing sense of resentment and frustration would soon explode in a tragic and violent way. Gregory and Gail had a loving but complex relationship. On one hand, Gail Cleavenger was a devoted mother who always tried to provide for her son, offering him a stable home and emotional support. She had been through a lot in life, having raised Gregory as a single mother, and she made sacrifices to ensure he had a good upbringing. On the other hand, Gregory was a teenager filled with frustration. He resented the constant pressure he felt from his mother to perform academically, and the growing tension between them created a toxic environment that would ultimately lead to tragedy. Their most recent argument which took place on the night of November 2nd, 2018, was about Gregory's failing grades. Gail had tried everything she could to motivate him, but Gregory was not responding. She was frustrated with him, and he was frustrated with her. This argument escalated when Gregory felt cornered and powerless to live up to his mother's expectations. In the heat of the moment, Gregory became consumed by anger. His frustration and resentment boiled over, and in a tragic fit of rage, he made a devastating decision. Gregory strangled his mother, Gail Cleavenger, for nearly 30 minutes. What followed was a crime of cold, calculated violence, far removed from the typical portrayal of a teenager's emotional outburst. According to Gregory's confession, the strangulation was not a momentary loss of control. It was deliberate. He had been pushed to a breaking point. And in that moment, he chose to end his mother's life rather than face the consequences of his academic failures. Once Gregory realized what he had done, the reality of the situation began to sink in. Overcome with guilt and fear, he made a fateful decision. Instead of calling for help or confessing to the crime, Gregory attempted to cover up what he had done. He staged the scene to look like a robbery gone wrong, hoping that it would divert suspicion from him. Gregory did not act alone in his efforts to cover up the crime. He enlisted the help of two of his friends, 17-year-olds Dylan Seglarek and Brian Porras. These two teenagers, who knew Gregory well, agreed to help him in his attempt to stage the crime. Together, they ransacked the house, taking items of value, moving things around, and creating a false narrative to support Gregory's fabricated story of a break-in. Gregory then made the fateful 911 call, reporting that he returned home to find the house ransacked and his mother missing. The distress in his voice was palpable, and he gave the dispatcher every reason to believe that a burglary had occurred and that his mother had been the victim of a violent crime. But as investigators would soon discover, there were inconsistencies in Gregory's story. There were no signs of forced entry into the home, and Gregory had inexplicably scratched himself in a way that seemed odd for someone who had just witnessed a violent crime. The police were immediately suspicious. They began to investigate further, and their suspicions were soon confirmed when Gregory's friends, Dylan and Brian, gave conflicting statements. Under the pressure of questioning, Gregory confessed the crime. He led police to the site where he had hidden his mother's body, beneath a fire pit at River City Church in DeBerry. The confession was shocking, but it was not the end of the story. The investigation revealed the full extent of the crime and Gregory's involvement. The details of the murder, how Gregory had carefully planned to conceal his mother's death, and how he had manipulated his friends into helping him, painted a chilling portrait of a teenager who, despite his age, had committed a premeditated and brutal crime. As investigators pieced together the timeline, it became clear that Gregory had not just reacted impulsively. He had calculated his actions, thinking through how to cover up the murder and avoid detection. His ability to manipulate the situation and his friends only added to the complexity of the case. This was no longer a simple case of juvenile impulsivity. It was a deliberate act of violence by a young boy who had clearly been struggling with deeper issues. In the wake of his confession, Gregory Ramos faced a legal system that was not prepared to treat him as just a child. Despite his age, 15 years old at the time of the crime, Gregory was charged as an adult. The case raised difficult questions about juvenile justice and whether a teenager, even one as young as Gregory, should be held to the same standard as an adult when it came to serious crimes. Gregory was charged with first-degree murder, tamper with evidence, and abuse of a dead body. His two friends, Dylan and Brian, were charged as accessories after the fact, but their sentences were much lighter than Gregory's. In December 2020, Gregory pled guilty to all charges, and in January 2021, he was sentenced to 45 years in prison, with a possibility of parole after 25 years. The decision to try Gregory as an adult reflected the gravity of the crime and the premeditated nature of his actions. However, it also sparked a wider debate about the treatment of juveniles in the criminal justice system and the role that mental health and family dynamics play in shaping a young person's actions. The death of Gail Cleavenger was a tragedy that devastated not only her family, but also the entire community of DeBerry. Gail was known for her kindness, warmth, and dedication to her family. She was deeply loved by friends, neighbors, and those who knew her. Her sudden and violent death left a deep hole in the hearts of those who had known her. For Gregory's family, The tragedy was even more complex. While they mourned the loss of Gail, they also struggled to come to terms with the fact that their own flesh and blood was responsible for her death. Gregory's grandmother, who had always been a source of support for him, expressed deep sorrow for what had happened. The emotional toll on the family was immense. 2 lives were lost that night, one literally and the other figuratively. The case also raised larger questions for the community about how to address the mental health challenges faced by adolescents and how to prevent similar tragedies in the future. Could more have been done to help Gregory before it was too late? Could the family dynamics and the pressures of adolescence have been better managed to prevent this heartbreaking crime? The case of Gregory Ramos and the murder of his mother, Gail Cleavenger, serves as a tragic reminder of the complexities of family life, the struggles of adolescence, and the need for greater awareness of mental health issues. Gregory's background, his troubled relationship with his mother, and the devastating crime he committed all contribute to a story that leaves a lasting impact on the community, the justice system, and the families involved. While justice has been served, the emotional scars left by this tragedy will take time to heal. For Gregory, the path ahead is uncertain, and the consequences of his actions will follow him for the rest of his life. But for those who knew Gail Cleavenger, the pain of her loss will linger long after the legal proceedings are over. This story calls for deeper reflection on the pressures faced by teenagers, the importance of open communication within families, and the need for mental health support before it's too late. In the end, it is a tragedy that speaks to the vulnerability of young people and the difficult challenges of understanding their inner lives. Let me know your thoughts, and I will see you again next time. Look after yourselves, guys. Be safe.